जनवरी 1940 में ब्रिटिश इंडियन आर्मी की बलोच रेजिमेंट की 5वीं पलटन ज्वाइन की। हिंदुस्तानी सिपाहियों ने जापानीज का बहुत बहादुरी से मुकाबला किया और उन्हें जापानीज के हवाले कर दिया गया। हिंदुस्तान और अंग्रेजों के बीच एक धागा था, वो टूट गया। गद्दारी की कोई माफी नहीं होगी।
You are charged with Indian Army Act Section 41, waging war against the king.
जब अंग्रेजी अफसरों ने साडी हिफाजत नहीं की, तो वो हमारी वफादारी के हकदार किस तरह हो सकते हैं? अगर जिंदा बचा उसके बाद शादी करोगी मुझसे?
Hello and welcome to Political Theatre. India is the largest democracy in the world, and the twists and turns in the world of Indian politics attract everyone's attention. Several political events take place simultaneously, making it difficult for the people to keep a track of these events and understand their impact. In the next half an hour, we'll bring to you the top political events of the week and decode and analyze them for you. So let's begin with the big story of the week. The Mahagathbandhan or the Grand Alliance in Bihar finally crumbled this week. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar first resigned and then made a comeback with the support of BJP. And all of this happened within a span of 48 hours. Nitish's former alliance partners Congress and RJD termed this as a breach of trust and against the mandate of the people.
जनता सबसे बड़ी अदालत होती है और जनता के प्रति प्रतिबद्धता हमारा है जनता की सेवा करने का। यह योग, यह सेवा राजभोग के लिए नहीं मिलता है, मेवा के लिए नहीं मिलता है।
Addressing MLAs in the Bihar Assembly ahead of the confidence vote, Nitish Kumar defended his move to break the Grand Alliance in the state. Supported by the BJP, Nitish Kumar secured 131 votes in the 243-member assembly on Friday, while 108 MLAs voted against the government. Former Deputy Chief Minister Tejasvi Yadav accused Nitish of breach of trust reposed in the Grand Alliance by the voters of Bihar.
भाजपा के साथ मिलकर के जो सरकार बनाया गया, ये लोकतंत्र की हत्या है और बिहार के तमाम जनता के साथ ये धोखा हुआ है महोदय।
The political drama that started in Bihar on Wednesday was all over in less than 48 hours. The time it took for Nitish Kumar to complete the transition, from leading the Grand Alliance government to taking charge of the NDA dispensation. It all started when Nitish submitted his resignation to State Governor K.N. Tripathi. Nitish cited irreconcilable differences over corruption charges faced by his deputy Tejasvi Yadav, a charge that his ally RJD Chief Lalu Prasad promptly denounced.
उनको ये बात मालूम हो गई कि हिंदुस्तान का एक चीफ मिनिस्टर मर्डर केस का, आर्म्स एक्ट का अव्वल मुद्दाले है और उसके खिलाफ संज्ञान लिया जा चुका है। तेजस्वी पर तो कहीं कुछ बात का अता पता भी नहीं है।
But even before the RJD chief ended his tirade and his accusations of a conspiracy, the BJP had already stepped in. The Prime Minister tweeted congratulatory messages to Nitish Kumar on joining the fight against corruption, and his party assured support as well as decision to join the new government.
BJP does not favor mid-term election in Bihar. The BJP welcomes the battle against corruption in Bihar. The BJP is committed to the politics of development and stability.
And less than 24 hours after stepping down, Nitish Kumar was back again as the Chief Minister with BJP's Sushil Modi as his deputy. It was the 6th time that he took oath as the Chief Minister while bringing back the BJP to power in the state after 4 years. Nitish Kumar's former alliance partners and other opposition parties denounced his decision to switch sides.
मैंडेट नीतीश जी को बिहार ने एंटी कम्युनल लड़ाई लड़ने के लिए दी थी और नीतीश जी ने अपनी पर्सनल पॉलिटिक्स के लिए उन्हीं लोगों से वो गले लग गए हैं। 3-4 महीने से हमें पता था कि ये प्लानिंग चल रही है।
ये तेजस्वी तो एक बहाना था, बीजेपी के साथ इनको जाना था।
When whole country from opposition was opposing demonetization, this man was promoting demonetization. Again, in the name of the president's candidate, he adopted the same course. So he is trying to show that he is larger than the entire opposition.
However, the swift transition in Bihar faces one hitch, with senior leader and former president of the party Sharad Yadav claiming he was not kept in loop by Nitish. 2 Rajya Sabha MPs of the party even voiced their opposition publicly.
हम लोगों को ये गुमान नहीं था कहीं से भी दूर दूर तक भी कि इस तरह का माने दुरूह और कठिन फैसला ले लेगी पार्टी।
नीतीश कुमार जी ने जो फैसला लिया है वो उन्होंने व्यक्तिगत तौर पर लिया, कोई पार्टी ऑफिस बेरर मीटिंग भी नहीं किया और किसी से बात भी नहीं किया इस बारे में।
The wheel has come full circle for the JDU and Nitish Kumar, who walked out of the NDA in July 2013. The decision ended a 17-year-old alliance after Narendra Modi was nominated head of the BJP's campaign committee for the 2014 Lok Sabha elections.
For more in the story, we have with us our political analyst for the day, Mr. Naveen Kumar Upadhyay, the political editor of The Pioneer. So, welcome to the show. First question which comes to mind and which has been talked about a lot is, was this a pre-planned affair in Bihar, or was it something which the Congress and RJD failed to, read or understand the writing on the wall that Nitish Kumar is going away?
I mean, you don't require any intelligence to understand that it was pre-planned. Otherwise, within 10 minutes of this alliance breaking up and Nitish Kumar submitting his resignation, BJP would not have stepped in. And the whole thing could not have been acted so swiftly that immediately the BJP leaders go to the Chief Minister's residence, everything is finalized. Next morning they take, they more or less found the contour of the government. So I think everything was pre-planned, but I must say, I think this was kept a very closely guarded secret. Okay. And Nitish Kumar was veering towards BJP for a long time. He was building a public perception that I am reaching closer to the BJP and its ideology. So when he has to take the final plunge, it should not be seen that he has done something which is which cannot be explained. So in public perception, he was endorsing all the positioning taken by the BJP, whether it's a demonetization, whether it's surgical strike, whether it is presidential poll. He came and contested municipal election in Delhi, which helped the BJP, because by cutting into Aam Aadmi Party vote banks. Oh, I think it was a very well planned thing. He was feeling uncomfortable with RJD and he was coming closer to the...
So in the present scenario, now he's back at the Chief Minister's post, 6th time, and back again with BJP, the alliance partners with whom it is said that he is very comfortable. Who gains most now in this situation? He is the Chief Minister, but is it the BJP which gains more than the JDU has gained in the present scenario?
See, the biggest loser is Lalu Prasad, and then the biggest gainer is BJP. Because BJP was out of power, there was no chance of BJP coming to power in Bihar on its own. BJP is back in power. And if you see the cabinet formation in Bihar, BJP in 2010 assembly election had won 91 seats and they had about 14 ministers. Today, in the first cabinet formation today, BJP has 12 or 13 ministers, and when they have far less number of MLAs, about 50 MLAs. So BJP has been able to, to extent dictate terms, and BJP is the biggest gainer in the whole exercise.
Okay, so wonderful. It seems there are some gainers and some losers in this game of politics in Bihar. We'll take a short break here, but when we come back, we will give you the details of the swearing-in ceremony of the new President of India and the ongoing monsoon session of Parliament. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This week witnessed the change of guard at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Ram Nath Kovind, who emerged victorious in the elections held last week, took over as the 14th President of the country. Former President Pranab Mukherjee was also bid farewell by the parliamentarians.
Ramnath Kovind took oath as the 14th President of India this week at a ceremony in the Central Hall of Parliament. He was administered the oath of office by Chief Justice of India, J.S. Kheir.
मैं ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि
रामनाथ कोविंद ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि
मैं श्रद्धापूर्वक
भारत के राष्ट्रपति के पद का कार्यपालन करूंगा
At the presidential palace, Kovind was accompanied by his wife Savita Kovind and outgoing President Pranab Mukherjee. The newly elected president was given a 21-gun salute. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan were among those present at the venue. In his first address after swearing in, Kovind said India's unity in diversity was the key to its success. The new president advocated the need to build an India that was not only an economic leader but also a moral exemplar.
साथियों, देश की सफलता का मंत्र उसकी विविधता है। विविधता ही हमारा वो आधार है जो हमें अद्वितीय बनाता है। इस देश में हमें राज्यों और क्षेत्रों, पंथों, भाषाओं, संस्कृतियों, जीवन शैलियों जैसी कई बातों का सम्मिश्रण देखने को मिलता है। हम बहुत अलग हैं, लेकिन फिर भी एक हैं और एकजुट हैं।
Outgoing President Pranab Mukherjee in his farewell address to the nation said India's soul resides in pluralism and tolerance.
The soul of India resides in pluralism and tolerance. India is not just a geographical entity. It carries a history of ideas, philosophy, intellect, industrial genius, craft, innovation and experience. Plurality of our society has come about through assimilations of ideas over centuries.
Earlier, members of both the Houses of Parliament bid farewell to the outgoing President Pranab Mukherjee in the Central Hall of Parliament. Last week, NDA-backed Kovind won presidential election with 65.65% votes against the opposition-backed Meera Kumar's 34.35% votes. Kovind also became the second Dalit leader after K.R. Narayanan since independence to occupy India's highest constitutional post.
Our political analyst for the day, Mr. Naveen Upadhyay, is still with us. It's settled now. The new president has taken oath, the 14th president. First time that somebody from the BJP's rank has gone to Raisina Hill to occupy that iconic building for the next 5 years and be the keeper of the Constitution of India. So, what kind of challenges do you believe Mr. Kovind has for him for the next 5 years?
I think, as you said, that he is the first BJP president to occupy the presidential post, and then people will be very keenly watching him. He, I mean, as a man responsible to guard the constitutional propriety, I think he would be expected, not to carry the BJP agenda from the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And when you have such a brutal majority, a government which has such a brutal majority, in that case it becomes far more important for the president also to ensure that the opposition's genuine grievances are looked into. You will see very frequently now the opposition party will be rushing to Rashtrapati Bhavan and petitioning the president on variety of issues, and there it becomes very important for president in such a scenario that he looks like a person, maintains the balance and steps in to tell the government where it is wrong and tell the opposition where they are taking extreme steps. So I think his job will be to protect the constitution and try to strike a balance between opposition and the government and ensure also to extend, bring them together, that parliament can function.
Okay. Okay. So it seems the next president, rather the present 14th president, Mr. Ramnath Kovind, has a lot of task up his hands. Let's take another look at a different story here, and that is the ongoing monsoon session of Parliament. while the second week of the parliament saw debates on issues like agrarian crisis and floods in several parts of the country. 6 Congress MPs were suspended for 5 days from Lok Sabha following the uproar. But both houses also gave their nods to several important bills during this week.
The second week of the monsoon session began on a stormy note in the lower house. 6 MPs of the Congress were suspended for 5 days by the Lok Sabha Speaker following their protest in the well of the House on the issue of mob lynching. The upper house functioned smoothly for the first few days, with the members engaging in a detailed discussion on the issue of agrarian crisis and floods in several parts of the country.
The central government is destroying the cooperative sector, which has been helpful to poor farmers to an extent. Demonetization was extremely harmful to the cooperative sector.
The banks in Tamil Nadu are threatening the farmers. The reason for the suicide by the farmers in Tamil Nadu is they are treated like criminals.
So we talk about bullet trains, smart cities, Kisan channels, but the life of the farmer is still the same.
आपके कर्तव्य का परिणाम भी तो देश को भोगना है। वे केवल कागजी है, इसलिए हम लोग असंतोष में यहाँ से वॉकआउट करते हैं।
कि मोदी सरकार के पहले 5 वर्षों का जो कुल आवंटन था राज्यों के लिए वो था 33,580 करोड़। मोदी सरकार बनने के तुरंत बाद उसको बढ़ाकर किया गया अगले 5 वर्षों का आवंटन 61,260 करोड़।
Central government has failed in its duty to provide funds for dredging and modernization of these barrages.
After Modi ji came into power, there was 4 times flood in Assam, but he never visited in Assam. He never offered any special package to Assam.
We must also appreciate the people who are working on the ground. Day and night, our NDRF team, they are not sent when there are disasters. They are already deployed in advance.
In comparison to the first week, this week saw several bills getting the nod from both houses. While Rajya Sabha cleared the Footwear Design and Development Institute Bill 2017, the Admiralty Jurisdiction and Settlement of Maritime Claims Bill 2017, the Collection of Statistics Amendment Bill 2017, the National Institute of Technology Amendment Bill 2017, IIIT Amendment Bill 2017, the Lok Sabha passed IIT Amendment Bill 2017, the Companies Amendment Bill 2016 and the IIM Bill 2017. The issue of 39 Indians missing in Iraq was also discussed by the parliamentarians in both houses, with External Affairs Minister assuring that the government will continue to search for them. On the last day of the week, the proceedings of the upper house were repeatedly adjourned over the resignation of several Congress MLAs in Gujarat.
Our political analyst Mr. Naveen Upadhyay, the political editor of Pioneer, is still with us. This is a very important session in a lot of terms. And there are several issues which have been raised by the opposition. First week we saw how the opposition was trying to corner the government on issues like mob lynching and all. Second week a bit of a sobriety has stepped in. We have seen very meaningful discussion on the issue of agrarian crisis, on the issue of flood, and several bills have been passed as well. But that animosity between both sides still remain on several issues. We've seen how the heated exchanges take place in both houses time and again.
You see what is happening in Parliament, and this is nothing new. I mean, this is playing out for last several years, and it's very unfortunate that whichever side is in the government and whichever side is in the opposition, nobody is trying to really ensure that the parliament function, and the whole country is watching. You have the proceedings on television sets every day. It's not only happening in Parliament, it's also spilling over in assemblies, and you are seeing that sort of animosity, hostility, bitterness, which is now becoming a part of our political discourse in Parliament. It's very unfortunate. Nothing is happening, even if the bills which are being passed, the sort of discussions and debate which used to take place in Parliament is hardly happening. I mean, side party which is in majority, they are able to pass the bill. But I mean, if Parliament is a forum where issues should be addressed seriously, and then a bill should be passed, and if there is a genuine concern, that should also be addressed into amending the bill. But nothing of that sort of happening, and I don't see in any foreseeable future the trend is changing, because this hostility is not only confined to Parliament. It's also outside, where the opposition parties and the ruling parties are locked in a very, very bitter struggle, and it's very unfortunate for this country.
So we can simply hope that the remaining session of the Parliament will not see disruptions and adjournments on the same scale as it has been witnessed over the past few days. We'll take a short break here, but when we come back, we will give you the details of what else happened in the political arena across the country and some interesting comments made by the political leaders. Stay tuned. Welcome back. From the nominations for Rajya Sabha polls to the continuing unrest in the hilly town of Darjeeling, let's take a look at what else made news across the country.
BJP President Amit Shah and Textiles Minister Smriti Irani filed nominations for the Rajya Sabha election from Gujarat. While Irani is being re-nominated for the Rajya Sabha, if elected, Amit Shah will make his debut as a Member of Parliament. The terms of 9 Rajya Sabha members from Gujarat and West Bengal are ending on the 18th of August. The members retiring include 4 from Trinamool Congress, 2 from the Congress, 2 from the BJP and 1 from the CPIM. Trinamool Congress leaders Derek O'Brien, Sukhendu Shekhar Roy and Dola Sen also filed their nominations for the election. The CPI, meanwhile, has rejected the proposal for a third term to Sitaram Yechury. The election for the upper house is scheduled for the 8th of August. Trouble seems to be mounting for Congress and its General Secretary Ahmed Patel ahead of the forthcoming Rajya Sabha elections. After the departure of senior leader Shankar Singh Waghela, 6 more MLAs have resigned from the party and several others are rumoured to be in talks with the BJP. The Congress has accused the BJP of misusing state machinery to influence the polling for Rajya Sabha seats from the state. Meanwhile, the Congress has shifted 44 Gujarat MLAs to Bengaluru to fend off poaching attempts by the BJP ahead of the Rajya Sabha polls on the 8th of August. BJP ally Shiv Sena has once again criticised the ruling party's policies at the centre. In the party's mouthpiece magazine Samna, party chief Uddhav Thackeray accused Prime Minister Narendra Modi of centralising power and taking away the independence of the states. Taking a dig at Modi's foreign tours, Thackeray said despite the Prime Minister's foreign visits, he has failed to get international support for its issues with Pakistan and China. Normal life continues to remain disrupted as indefinite shutdown called by the Gorkha Janmukti Morcha entered into the 5th week in Darjeeling, with both the Gorkha and state leaderships refusing to budge from their positions and the centre maintaining silence. The issue has reached a stalemate. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee briefed Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh about the prevailing situation in Darjeeling. Meanwhile, in Parliament, Minister of State for Home Affairs Hansraj Gangaram Ahir clarified that there was no proposal to form any committee to look into the demand for a separate state for the Gorkhas in Darjeeling.
Several political situations led to interesting comments by politicians in a bid to counter each other's claims. We have shortlisted the best ones for you in Face Off.
बोफर्स मामले को उठाना चाहती थी भारतीय जनता पार्टी और एनडीए के लोग। उनमें सुनने की ताकत नहीं है,
क्योंकि सरकार नहीं चाहती थी कि हम अपनी आवाज को उठाएं। जो मॉब लिंचिंग और जिस तरीके से दलितों की हत्या हो रही है पूरे देश में, मॉब लिंचिंग हो रहा है पूरे देश में, हम अपनी आवाज उठाना चाहते थे।
लालू यादव अप्रासंगिक हो गए हैं भारतीय राजनीति में। चारों तरफ से भ्रष्टाचार करने वाले व्यक्ति को राजनीतिज्ञ कहना ये मैं उचित नहीं मानता हूं। ये भारतीय राजनीति की बदनामी होती है।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार तो पूरी तरह से प्रयास करेगी। ईडी हो, इनकम टैक्स हो, हवाला हो, पता नहीं क्या क्या जो कानून में प्रावधान है वो सब का इस्तेमाल वो करेंगे और जो दबाव में आ जाएंगे वो तो उनके सामने जाकर झुक जाएंगे, लेकिन जो नहीं आएंगे तो उनको परेशान किया जाएगा।
विधायकों को डराना, धमकाना, भयभीत करना, सरकारी जो तंत्र है पुलिस का, सबका दुरुपयोग करके कुछ विधायकों को मजबूर किया गया।
कांग्रेस का ये आरोप कि गुजरात में भाजपा खरीद फरोख्त कर रही उनके विधायकों का ये बेबुनियाद, तथ्यहीन और झूठा आरोप है। कांग्रेस में सम्मान नहीं मिलता, कांग्रेस पार्टी चिंता नहीं करती। तो कांग्रेस पार्टी आज खुद बिखर रही है, तो कांग्रेस के लोगों से कहूंगा अपना घर संभालो।
एनआईओ को मुबारक, अब सच्चाई सामने आएगी। एक बात का खास ख्याल रखा जाए, ये सिर्फ दबाव डालने के लिए ना किया जाए, ईमानदारी से इसको सामने लाया जाए। वहां जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने फंडिंग की है शोरियत को, वो भी सामने लानी चाहिए।
Next, he wants to say, that's what he has not said. He must be clear what he wants to say now, what he intends to say now, because he has said about Hurriyat leaders, and he has talked about the consequences. Then what?
Apart from television studios, protest marches and public rallies, politicians were also busy taking a dig at each other and making their point on social media. Let's take a look at what all happened in the virtual world of Indian politics.
As Bihar's political drama unfolded, social media too erupted with reactions. As soon as Nitish Kumar announced his resignation, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to Twitter to congratulate Nitish Kumar in his fight against corruption. Soon after, Nitish Kumar acknowledged Modi's tweet and sent out a thank you message on Twitter. Other party leaders including Congress and Samajwadi Party slammed Nitish Kumar's decision to join hands with the BJP. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi lashed out at Nitish Kumar, saying he has betrayed the people's mandate. CPM General Secretary too took to Twitter and said that any party supporting the BJP is indirectly supporting mob lynching and atrocities against Dalits. Former UP CM Akhilesh Yadav took a dig at Nitish Kumar by posting a Hindi Bollywood song. RJD chief Lalu Yadav and his son Tejaswi too lashed out at Nitish Kumar. Lalu Yadav challenged Nitish Kumar to call for elections in the state. He said that the Bihar mandate was against electing the BJP. Tejaswi Yadav too took to Twitter to slam Nitish Kumar for breaking away from the Grand Alliance. Tejaswi questioned Nitish's sense of morality and honesty. As Ramnath Kovind took over as President of India, the Twitter account of Rashtrapati Bhavan started functioning as the 140-character digital platform for the 14th President of India. The President's official Twitter handle posted highlights of his speech on the first day along with the images of leaders sending out wishes to him. Along with the official account, Kovind also inherited over 3 million Twitter followers of former President Pranab Mukherjee. Meanwhile, Twitter account of former President Pranab Mukherjee has been archived. As Mukherjee was the 13th President of India, his official Twitter account history has been archived under the handle @POI13. Mukherjee now operates a new Twitter account under a new handle @Citizen Mukherjee, which will act as a personal account of Pranab Mukherjee.
So this was the summary of twists and turns in the world of Indian politics. We will come back again next week with some more interesting information and analysis. Till then, we will leave you with these visuals of the week. Keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.